Welcome back! So previously we talked about structure blocks, jigsaw blocks, and template pools, and how we can use those to generate a dungeon like the Sands of Time map. Now, we're not going to be doing an exact replica of Sands of Time, but it will have the same vibe. There will be some differences that I kind of want to review and go over. So in Sands of Time, like I said, there are specific color keys that unlock specific color vaults. So there's 4 different keys that unlock 4 different vaults for every dungeon. There's a blue one, there's a red one, there's a green one, and then the most valuable one, the gold vault. Now the gold vault is typically deeper down the path or like harder to get with the key. You may have to do some extra parkour or something like that. And the green vault is always directly next to the hub. Same with the red key. Now the red key room is always some kind of word puzzle, if I'm not mistaken. And then the blue key is always found in the hub directly under the timer in the middle. Any path branching out of the hub could either immediately dead end or branch out into several different smaller paths, which could dead end or lead to a vault. And sometimes you can find key rooms along the path, even in the same branch coming out of the hub that leads to a vault. You can find 2 key rooms on this branch, who knows? And because of some of the restrictions with structure blocks and jigsaw blocks and the way that we are using them to generate the dungeon, it can be a little difficult for us to generate a path that cuts into and around a smaller path. So we'll still stick with the green vault being directly next to the hub somewhere, and same with the red key and the blue key being underneath the timer. But I think it would be a little bit easier for us if we only allow each path to lead to one point of interest, whether that be some kind of vault or some kind of key, or maybe even nothing. Because remember, the way that we're doing this is we, for each path, essentially reserve a space that a path can generate in, and then carve out a path in that space. So for example, at the bottom here, again, the red key puzzle room will always be directly adjacent to the hub. Now this box is reserved for if this was a different path that wasn't the red key and actually needed to continue on for a long time. But if we, for this path, knew that this was a small path, we could make a path that comes through this reserved section here, goes into its normal reserved section, and then maybe even branches out into this section because we know that that would be empty. There is a problem though with other neighboring paths. For instance, for this guy, he sees that this is a short path as well, so what's to stop him from reserving this space before this guy tries to take it? So to keep things simple, we're not going to have overlapping sections like this. But as we generate a path further and further away from the hub, we have more range of freedom as to where this path should connect and go to, because there's a lot more space to work with here. So at the end of a path, we'll have either a vault or a key, or maybe just a little something, just so there's not potentially a door opening to the world outside. Now looking at this, you can see that the boxes immediately adjacent to the hub, the size of area that we reserve for a path is smaller than all these other square sections. These smaller sections directly next to the hub are going to have to be a custom size for that specific offshoot, just so we can fit everything in. And depending on what kind of path type it is, we can reserve more area for a longer path. That'll be good for cases like the gold key and the gold vault, which is, again, usually worth a little bit more. And the more I think about it, the more I think it will make sense to have some kind of lame vault at the end of paths that don't either hold a key or a regular vault. This also can add a strategy where, say I'm a player exploring this path, if I find one of these vaults, I know that this path will not have a key or a colored vault. And so I can scurry back onto the hub and start traversing through a different path, which may lead to more money. And if there are 11 branches, then that means that we'll have 4 lame vaults as little consolation prizes for the players. And one more thing, in order for our paths to connect properly between reserved areas, we're going to have to do this on a grid system, which hopefully won't be too obvious, as long as you keep it a secret, so shush.
Now, as I mentioned in the end of the last video, I have a working miniature prototype of this concept in-game. But before I show it to you guys, I need to ask for a favor. I need you to use your imagination As this is a prototype, it doesn't look good. It's just a working proof of concept, but it should offer a good start. Okay, here we go. So first we have a miniature version of the hub, and each pathway out of the hub is marked with some kind of colored block. So the concrete powder blocks represent that this would go to the key corresponding to that color. So this would go to the green key, and then the regular concrete blocks will go to the vault. So this would go to the red vault, and then the gray blocks will just go to like a dead end or lane vault or whatever we decide to use. So for the sake of explanation and example, we're just going to focus on this one path here. So say we have a jigsaw block pointing out of this path, and it is responsible for generating the pathway to the gold vault, as you can see. So all this jigsaw block really does is it places this structure. Now there's three different kinds of structures that I want to go over. So there's path structures, blueprint structures, and room structures. So path structures are directional. They are responsible for reserving a space where rooms for this path can generate in. They have a jigsaw block here representing the entry point coming in from the hub, going into this area. And then they have another jigsaw block somewhere on the opposite side that represents the path coming out of this section, which will connect to more path blocks, like this larger path structure here. So I go in here, and then I'll come out over here. And then this end jigsaw block will either generate another path structure or the gold vault, which I have as a dinky little structure over here. This is our gold vault. The other thing that these path structures do is they pick a blueprint the same size as the path structure. And that's done with this jigsaw block that's pointed directly into the structure here. And blueprint structures are mainly just void with a couple of very specifically placed jigsaw blocks inside of them, which are responsible for generating the actual rooms, which will be carved into the path structures. So I've got my data pack set up to where the template pools only draw from one structure per template pool for now. And let's see if that works. And then once I get that working, we could go over the details inside each jigsaw block and add more structures to the template pools. Okay, so let's just do /reload just to be sure. And then we'll do /place structure. Okay, so it's finding it, so that's good. Let's see what happens. Whoa. Okay, not quite exactly what I'm hoping for. There's something missing here. Let's check the logs. And it's time. Yeah, baby, alright. This is looking better. So, you can see here that we come into this path, and we see this room, and then we start seeing some other rooms, and then we could go either left or straight. And we have a dead end here, so we say, oh no, we can't go that way, so it must be this way. So we keep going, and then we go down here, and then we find the gold vault. Now it's a little hard to see exactly what's going on here, so let me try to remove all of this glazed terracotta here. So that exposes the path. So we can see that we generate a room here, and then we have this area to play around with, and we just say, hey, in this area we're going to generate a path here, and then we're going to somehow connect the path from here to here, and we're going to do that with the exact same room, just because this pool only has one room in it right now. And then we do the same thing over here. We generate some more rooms from the same pool just to get some interesting shapes. So what I want to do right now is add more rooms into the pool for our blueprints. So I've got some different rooms over here, all with different shapes. Okay, I'm going to grab these guys and move them in over here and add them to our template pool. Okay, and now when we do /place structure tool, we should be able to get some different path variation going on here. Let me remove all this glazed terracotta. Yeah, so this time we got a zigzaggy, swaggy-waggy thing here, and then another zigzaggy, swaggy-waggy thing there again, and then this slightly different shaped room, and then the P-shaped room again, but facing this way instead. Okay, so if we get a large variety of blueprints and rooms to our template pools, we can generate a seemingly random path to a vault. Just to make it clear, this vault isn't always going to be located here. This vault location is determined by what kind of exit we pick for our path structure. If we have a path structure that, say, started here, same space, but maybe exited here, then the vault would be placed here instead. Now this is good, but it could be better. At the moment, it's pretty flat right now. And if you've ever watched a playthrough of Sands of Time, you know that each path can go up or down. Things get a little trickier if you want to add some height variation into our paths. But I think I figured something out that will do the job just fine for us. So let's take a look at this blueprint over here. We have our same little 2x3 blueprint here, and then a hallway. And then you'll notice a mound of packed mud here. When we place a structure from a template pool using a jigsaw block, we have the option to make it match with the terrain, as we saw in the first episode with the village pathways. So this jigsaw block here is going to pull from a very special pool of structures that will be placed to match the terrain. This is possible because if I turn on invisible blocks here, you can see everything's a structure void block except for the area above our packed mud mound. All these blue boxes are air blocks. Now, if you're thinking that I'm gonna have the player jump up a block to get to this platform, you're sorely mistaken. Of course we're gonna use stairs. See? Look! Stairs! I have stairs here. Those are stairs. When a structure is placed in the world, it will actually execute any command block contained in it, as long as if that command block is set to always active. And what this command block does is it runs a function to place a stair in the correct direction. So if we take a look at that function right here, orient stair, in this function we'll do a couple of checks to see if the block next to it in all four directions is air. If the block is air, then it will place mud brick stairs facing a certain direction. And so I have a quick and dirty example where I use this jigsaw block to just generate the terrain structure right here. So these stairs used to be command blocks. So you can see with these structures I have to make sure that I have a ceiling just to make sure everything's still enclosed. But let's take a break from that and take a look at some of the initial designs that I'm working on for the general theme of the dungeon. So in the regular Sands of Time game, you'll see a lot of these little connection sockets kind of look like this. They represent the doorways between rooms, and so they'll have a frame and then the walls and then another frame. I think for our version, I want to add just another layer on top of these door frames. I think just adding that makes it look a lot more toomy. I don't know how to describe it, as opposed to just having one beam. And I'm working on a general style of what we kind of want for the rooms, the floor, some decoration that we'll see here and there. I think it looks pretty good. I've already started designing some rooms with that. We have our grid system here, so it's a 5x5 for the normal version. We'll look at these in a future episode as well. I think if you enter a room on the path of a vault, we'll have these decorative walls up at the top that signify what color vault you're looking at. And if you're going down a path that leads to a key or something else, then you'll just see magma blocks on the sides. And then I have some bamboo at the top here, just to offer as a nice green, cool color. It kind of complements all the orange and red and browns as well. And then some rooms will have lava and lava parkour. Those are mainly for the vault rooms and the key rooms or whatever, so you won't see this too much, but I did want to kind of design just an area for that as well. So yeah, let me know what you guys think of this kind of vibe so far. I'm going to use this as a pattern to spread throughout all the different rooms. One thing you'll notice here is this decorated pot. I think it would be cool to have decorated pots throughout the tomb. In the normal game of Sands of Time, you'll just find like torches and arrows laying on the ground. But that's so messy. It's a mess. So I think it would be fun to have decorated pots that the players can break as a way to find loot inside. So we'll get more into that in a future episode as well. Something that I do want to keep the same as much as possible is the hub, because I think that the design for the hub is just phenomenal. Really knocked it out of the park there with the design. So I've been watching some videos to try to recreate where the blocks should go for the hub and everything like that. Guys, I could do this jump, I swear, watch. Ugh. Nailed it! Oh, I did it. That's awesome. Yay. I'm so good. Wow. Yeah, so I'm gonna focus on this for now and then show you the progress next episode. Until then, have a good one. Take care. Bye-bye.